Welcome into the spring sports season premiere of This Week in Wyoming Cowboys Athletics here on wyomingathletics.org. My name is Jason Griefer. Once again, we are joined by Wyoming Assistant Athletic Director Jeff King. Jeff, good to be back here with you on the podcast once again. A lot of things been going on since we last talked, and obviously a lot we're going to discuss today is going to involve the spring sports season, but a couple of a bit of news and notes since we last talked. One of those actually just broke in the last really 48 hours from now. We're recording this on Tuesday, April the 6th, and that is that you're now on the search for a new girls basketball head coach. Jermaine Isaac leaving after one season to take over the boys' job up at Wilmington, where he has a long history there. So we're now going to be on our third head coach in 3 years. We don't need to go into all the background details of that. I'm just wondering, with this news being so fresh and we're just really getting going here, where do you and Jan Wilkins begin this process of finding Coach Isaac's successor?
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to be tough. Obviously, we wish Jermaine nothing but the best, and totally understand the decision to go home to Wilmington. I'm sure he'll have a great career there, and hopefully he has a lot of success with the boys team up in Wilmington. But for our search, we have a program that he left, I think, building a great, hopefully, legacy kind of behind him, even with that 1 year where right now we're in the very preliminary stages, but we're wanting to find someone that can kind of piggyback off of the success that he had last season with those girls, knowing that we're making a lot of great culture changes. And, we're excited to see who we get to talk to and kind of go from there, and obviously bring in someone great.
And since this just came about, this job has just been freshly posted just this week there. For any potential candidates out there right now that may be interested in the job and maybe listen or watch this podcast, what's the best way to get in contact with yourself and Jan Wilking to try and get that ball rolling?
Yeah, they can email me directly right at King J at WyomingCitySchools.org. King J at WyomingCitySchools.org. Shoot me over the resume, their interest letter, and we'll get the ball rolling, and hopefully we talk to some really great, highly qualified candidates.
And hopefully, as we go along here during the spring, we can give an introduction to that new head coach, whomever it may be at that point. But still, just beginning this process, so we'll see how quickly that goes in the next few weeks. Other bit of information we said we would talk about at the end of the winter sports season, if we were able to bring home a state championship. Correctly predicted by Jeff King that Grace Courtney would indeed close the deal at the diving state championships after finishing second the season before. She goes ahead and seals the deal and wins the state title. So hats off to you, sir, for correctly predicting that one. I don't know how much of a stretch it was to make that proclamation. But nevertheless, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say she didn't make it too hard on me to make a prediction, that's for sure. So
yeah, she took care of it. So took care of the deal and brought the state title back to Wyoming. So number one, two parts to my question here for you. Number one, how much credit are you taking for the state championship? And number two, in recalling back to when she clinched it and knew that she clinched the title, what was her reaction and emotion afterward?
So number one, I can't take any credit there, that's for sure, especially because from a coaching standpoint, diving would not be my forte of coaching. That's definitely true. And I mean, that's hats off to her and Coach Karn. I mean, she just worked so hard all year. And like we just said, she didn't making that prediction very tough. And she was so excited. Her family was so excited. And we were all just ecstatic here. Anytime you get a state championship, I mean, it's just phenomenal. And she has one more year to hopefully go back and defend her state title. So we're so excited for her and really the whole swim and dive team. They really had a great showing this year.
I know you won't say it because you're an administrator there and you have to kind of mind your P's and Q's and so much as you can, but I'll just go ahead and say good luck to the rest of the state of Ohio because she has one more year to get better. I'll say it. You don't have to, because I understand you gotta be a little more careful there than I do, since you're there in the halls of Wyoming High School every day. With that said, now let's get into the meat of our show here today. Let's talk about the spring sports season. And let's start with your baseball team, getting things going here. Just a couple games under their belts thus far right now. Win the opener against New Richmond 9-5. And most recently, this past Monday against Reading, winning the game 4-0 that's not really the big story here. Yes, we love getting a win, but the bigger story is that Brennan Pagan just doesn't stop doing really good things on the field. We saw what he did back in the fall in taking over as quarterback of the football team for Evan Prater. And apparently that arm just does not get tired, because he just went out and fired a no-no against Reading, struck out 8 in the game on top of not giving up a hit. I think he walked a couple there. That's no big deal, though, because none of them crossed the plate. What can you tell us about this particular no-hitter from Brennan and what it can do for the whole team going forward? Because it's a really, really good way to get yourself set up for league play.
Yeah, I mean, from a team standpoint, it came after a tough loss on Saturday to Fairfield, a really good baseball team, a game that we had that kind of under our control for a little bit there, but then to come back Monday night, the no hitter going into league play, it's definitely something that's a big confident boost for us. Not being able to play last year when we knew how much talent we had on the roster last year, we still have a ton of talent this year. Obviously, now headlined by Brennan Pagan last night. We talk a lot on this podcast about student athletes that are continually raising the bar, setting big legacies, and he's another one. So for all student athletes coming up, he continues to set the bar higher and higher, and we couldn't be more impressed with him as a student athlete, as a leader. But really, that baseball team can kind of now take that win, take that performance, and really hopefully piggyback off of that to set us up for some great success in league play and throughout our non-league schedule.
Yeah, some really good non-league teams on there. You mentioned Fairfield already, New Richmond. You got Bishop Watterson coming up, Batavia, Lakota East down the road. How much of that is by design to try and get that really good non-conference schedule and mixed in with what's traditionally a very good CHL?
Yeah, it's really all by design. It's really, there's a big purpose behind that, because we want to be able to face really tough competition so that when we get to the tournament and we know we're going to be facing even tougher competition, that hopefully we can be ready for it. So that's something where across all of our sports, we kind of have been beginning to strive to find really tough non-conference opponents to make sure that we're ready come a tournament time, knowing that we're going to play a lot of tough teams in our own league as well. So it's something that we like, a really tough regular season schedule, and we see hopefully it pays off come tournament time.
Kind of a similar story with the softball team as far as the non-conference goes. You drop your first 2 games of the year, but those are to Seton and to Middletown. Again, 2 very good non-conference teams. You come back, follow that the very next day last week with a nice 8-2 win over Roger Bacon. And that really sets the stage for league play this past Monday, where, like the baseball team, the softball team plays Reading, and Naomi Evans goes out and fires a 3-hitter and a shutout, and you win that one 10-0. You're going to get Reading coming up here again later this week. This has been a league the last number of years that's been dominated by Taylor. They have been the standard bearer for the last 3 seasons that we've had. Obviously, we didn't have a season a year ago, but and they're off to a nice start in league play. They beat Marymount 25-0 to start league play. That's a heck of a message to send to the rest of the league. But nevertheless, pretty good message from your team as well. How are they feeling about their chances, given the fact that they didn't have a season last year and now moving into this year to possibly contend and challenge Taylor for that league title?
I think they're feeling really good. I've talked to their coaches over the past couple of weeks, and knowing that we started off with those 2 really tough non-conference games, and then a really tough Roger Bacon team to go ahead and get that win as well, and back-to-back days. I'm so proud of that softball team, because they had a tough coming into the season just with field conditions and weather and everything. We had a tough time getting them really on the softball field to get them prepared to play for their season opener. So that season opener was one of the first times that they were actually on a softball field after practices. So I'm so proud of them from the way that they were able to adapt and get going. We feel great about the way we're playing right now going into league play. And like you said, hopefully we can challenge for that top spot.
And looking back, do you think maybe those first 2 games were, in a sense, a way to kind of knock off the rust because they've not been able to get out on the field because Mother Nature has just not been very friendly up until really this week?
Yeah, really. And it's kind of like, going back to the baseball talk that we just had with the non-conference schedule. Seton and Middletown, it's tough to find two tougher teams right there to open back to back. And then obviously with Roger Bacon as well. So definitely great games to knock off the rust, but then find out, how good we really are playing really tough competition and then continue to get better as now we get into league play.
Let's switch gears and let's talk about your lacrosse team. And obviously, the bulk of their work is going to be in the non-conference with not a full slate of teams in girls lacrosse in the CHL supporting the team at the varsity level anyway. But nevertheless, two really nice wins to start the season. You demolished Mercy McCauley 17-2 in the opener. And then this past Saturday, you've got to win a barn burner against Walnut Hills. You get a late goal with the last couple of minutes and beat Walnut Hills 5-4. So you're off to a 2-0 start. You got CCD, Oakwood, Kings, Ursuline coming up. Very few days off, as it is for all spring sport athletes right now. But one player I want to talk about in particular is your goalie, freshman Ainsley Bankin. Leads the league with 13 saves thus far through 2 matches, and most importantly, only allowed 6 to get by her. But again, she's just a freshman going in and being thrown into the fire with this non-conference schedule that the team has to deal with. How impressive has it been for you, at least through a couple of games, to see her not only come in as a freshman and compete on the varsity level, and then also hold both teams to 4 goals or less?
It's been super impressive to watch, and just another athlete we're so proud of. She started to put in the work way before this season and the offseason, coming to lifting, coming to conditioning and all that. And she's already turning into a leader as just a freshman, especially in that goalie spot. You watch the cross games, and after the game, they always go and shoot right back everyone runs to their goalie to celebrate the win. And there's a reason for that. And for her to come up as a freshman and take that spot and perform the way that she has, and the way that team, has really performed, that was such an exciting game that we had on Saturday. We're so proud of her and excited to see what, her career brings for us.
Are you or she surprised at this early success she's had? Or is it an instance of maybe a little bit of youthful exuberance to where maybe she doesn't know she's not supposed to be this good at this young of an age?
I think it's really, she's very confident back there. And I think she knows that she had the ability to do it. And our coaches are getting her ready. The seniors and the junior leadership that we have on that team is really good. And they've continued to work together and build her up. And I think that she just feels confident in that goalie position. And she knows, though, that there's still work to be done. There's a lot of ways to get better. And the thing about it is she's the type of athlete that will continue to work to get better every single day.
Just a freshman, folks. Keep that in mind
Right.
as we not only talk this season, but also how she progresses beyond this season. Let's switch over to the boys' side, and a bit more of a roller coaster start, I would say, to the season for the boys. A couple of weeks back, you start the season against Taylor, winning that game 14-2, and then get a little bit of a break there, and at the end of March, really have it taken to you by Anderson and Marymount, and losing those games by a combined score of 28-4. So again, you've seen now they've gotten experience of both ends of the spectrum, how to win big, and unfortunately taking a couple really tough on the chin. You've got Indian Hill this week, Turpin coming up, Little Miami coming up next Monday there. It's a very experienced squad, a lot of upperclassmen on this squad. So, presumably some guys who have had experience at this level before. Given the fact that you're coming off those types of results that you have, the 2 big losses, how does Coach Gordon expecting the team to respond starting this week, and in particular with Indian Hill in league play?
I know that we need to respond and come out and, make a statement of saying that, look, we got those 2 games. Now, Anderson and Marymount, 2 really, really tough teams. So coming out and get those games out early and really challenging us. We know that we got to get better in certain areas, and we've continued to prepare for that. So hopefully, tomorrow night against a really tough Indian Hill team, going into more league play, it's going to be tough to keep doing that and to really come off of those 2 big losses, but put them behind you. Have a short memory about it. Know that we have the talent, we have the upperclassmen, we have the leadership, and then build around each other. And I think Coach Gordon, he's getting those guys ready to go out and put the best performance that we can tomorrow night.
One of the things that strikes me in looking at the way the spring sports season is set up is that there are a lot of games, a lot of meets, and a lot of matches in a very, very short period of time. There'll be sometimes 5, 6, even 7 games in 1 week span. You've played your fair share of athletics in your playing days. You played big time college football as well, where you're playing 1 day a week, and you've got all the time in between that to prepare, to study, to game plan, all that type of things. And when sometimes I'm sure when you take a big loss like that, it has a tendency to linger and can kind of affect your way in preparation. Maybe it goes into the following week, maybe not individually, but as a team. I'm wondering, given that there are so few days off here and so little time to think about results like this, can it wind up being a benefit to the team that you have another game coming up right on the horizon, that we don't have time to sit here and sulk and mope about this big loss, that we have to turn it around immediately because we have another game within a day or two?
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be a benefit, and it needs to be, like I said, I think really good athletes a lot of times can tend to have they need to have short memories, meaning move past it, it's in the past, and kind of move forward knowing that we can continue to get better and that we have another chance very quickly coming up. So that's really good for spring sports. What have you done for me lately for sure is a big thing in spring sports, meaning every week you might get 2 to 3 chances to kind of bounce back. So hopefully they know that, and I know that they're preparing for it. And we look forward to seeing how we do against Indian Hill tomorrow night.
We'll be keeping an eye on that and talking about it next week on the show. Let's change gears. Let's move on to the tennis courts, and tennis team's really going to get things ramped up this coming week. Harrison, Lakota West, and you've got Summit next Monday, Marymount next Tuesday. This is a league that has, as far as boys tennis goes, has, for lack of a better phrase, been the Indian Hill Invitational. Looking at the way the history of the league has gone since 1986, Indian Hill has won it every year except 2. Wyoming has won the other 2. That's at least something to hang your hat on there. You've been able to dethrone them twice, but nevertheless, everybody knows that Indian Hill is the odds-on favorite to win the league each year. I'm wondering, as we're getting going here and really starting to ramp up the season now with a lot of matches again coming in the 9 matches coming in the next 15 days, how are you feeling and how are the coaches feeling about the offseason training of this team? And is there a name or two to keep an eye on, especially early in the season?
I would really as a whole team, Coach Tanner has really started to take the approach. He did some camps early on in the year, and really has tried to build this team up, knowing that we need to challenge that top spot at Indian Hill, and someone needs to step up. And I think that there's definitely a group of kids that can kind of step up and take control there. We do have some really good young talent on the tennis team, which is good for our future. And hopefully we can start to string along some league titles against Indian Hill. That would be kind of a big goal there for us. But one day at a time. We have a tough week coming up with Harrison and Lakota West. So we'll see what we can do with those 2 and then go and get into league play and how we can challenge Indian Hill for that top spot.
We also here at ESP Media do a AD podcast with Indian Hill, and talking to their athletic director, Brian Phelps, he was basically mentioning and talking about tennis, that not only a league championship, but also a state championship is not just a goal, it's an expectation. And obviously a lot of teams will have that. Your team, your football team, I know in particular, has that mindset as well. I'm wondering though, with that, knowing the history and lineage of Indian Hills tennis, how much of an actual benefit it can be to you and your team, knowing that you are seeing every single year perennially one of the best teams in the state, and how good of a preparation it can be for you to get into the postseason when you get matched up with teams and players get matched up one-on-one, knowing I've seen better potentially at Indian Hill. Can that actually be a benefit for your team long-term?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of the same way that we like to have a tough non-conference schedule. Well, a lot of times we have a really tough conference schedule as well, where in boys tennis, we'll see Indian Hill, and that provides us really good preparation for the tournament. But we also need to start to climb that hill. You know what I mean? No pun intended. We need to start hopefully competing against them and compete for league titles. And we want to be a type of program where, just like you said with Brian over there at Indian Hill, a state title is not a goal. It's something that we really think should happen every year. That's what we're looking for. And I think Coach Tanner's doing a really good job starting to prepare those guys for really good success this season.
build those blocks and then work your way on up there. And you know, you never know, anything can happen on any given day. So
Yep.
we'll see what happens eventually when that meeting with Indian Hill comes. It's not going to be till April 27th as of now, but nevertheless, we'll keep an eye on the progress as we go along here during the tennis season. As we go along here on the podcast, let's switch gears. Let's move on to the track, and let's start with the boys track and field. There, really good showing at the Skyline Open last week. A big week this week with the Madeira Invite, and then also the Coaches Classic over the weekend. There, some really strong performances. I'll highlight them, and then I'll get your thoughts on them after. Nathan Glisson right now lead the CHL in the 100. As far as time goes, he's second in the 200. Sam Prangley was third right now in both those distances. Freshman Andrew Burns leads the CHL in the 3,200 meter run, which I don't even know how long that is, but it's way too long for me to fathom running, let alone driving. I don't know about you, but he leads the CHL in that area by over a minute over another Wyoming freshman, Owen Bailey. So you have the two best runners at the 3,200 there. And then you also have Joel Allen leads the league in both the discus and the shot put, both by at least 4 feet. So there's a huge gap there. I'm looking at this, and it almost likens in my mind, because it's more fresh in my mind, to what you had with your wrestling team. There is so much depth across so many different disciplines here in track and field, and coming across from guys that are not only upperclassmen, but also the freshmen as well. What did you make of their performances across all these different disciplines, and how can that carry them into this week with Madeira and then the Coaches Classic?
We were so excited about it. You know, Coach Shapker, he always sends me different results that we have, either whether it's through practice or in that first meet and everything. And just the performances that we are having, just like you said, with our wrestling team, we really want to be able to compete against anybody. In that first meet at Elder, you know, you look at the leaderboards, you have St. X, you have Elder, really big other schools that we're competing and continually on the top of those leaderboards, near the top of the leaderboards. So going into the league competition, we feel really good about it, but it's a type of, you know, mentality where we don't want just league championships. We want to see how far we can go in the tournament. We want people competing for state titles, getting on podiums at the regional meets, getting on podiums at the state meet.
A really good start to the season, and trying to get back to an era of just a few years ago where you won 5 straight league championships. And that's not too far in the past either. And I think it's something that, you know, these student athletes keep in mind there. They're not that far removed from that level of success. Girls track team has won some league championships in the past. It's been a few years. Indian Hill is kind of at the top right now. There's that hill to climb once again. Credit to you for that one. But really strong starts from them. And the 4 young ladies I want to talk about here right now going into this week are near or at the top of the leaderboard in all these different disciplines. And I'll go through some of them, and I'll give you the caveat here that really just blew me away in looking at the results here. Addie Hamilton is in the top 5 of the CHL in both the pole vault and the long jump. Zoe Cook is number 2 in the 100, number 4 in the 200. Anna Zimmerly is 4th in the high jump. Zoe Mayberry is 6th in the 200 and leads the CHL right now in the long jump and the pole vault. Really impressive from all 4 of them. The more impressive thing is they're all freshmen, all 4 of them. You have an incredibly balanced squad of both youth and upperclassmen. There are a number of juniors and seniors that are peppering the leaderboard in the CHL early in the season. But I'm wondering, with all these 4 in particular doing what they did in the opening stages of the season, how does your coaching staff even begin to try to get this much production from all these freshmen so early?
They've really just bought in, and they work so hard together at practice. I think they know that, you know, they've had success in other sports just as being true freshmen as well. And they know that the potential there, as we go through their high school career over the next 4 years, we have a track team, both on the girls side and the boys side. We want to see a lot of records for on our record boards. You know, and there's a lot of really good chances to do it. Our coaches are doing a really good job preparing them just as a team. And it's really, you know, whether you're a freshman, senior, whatever, we're going to compete against each other at practice. The best people are going to compete at the meets, and we're seeing what's coming up. We have a lot of great young talent to be excited about.
Before we started recording and kind of I wanted to get some more fine details about the performance from this segment in our show. You were without hesitation told me Zoe Mayberry is projecting to have a huge career at Wyoming High School across all different kinds of disciplines. Why was that so quick to come to mind for you? And what is it that stands out about Zoe, even as a freshman, that makes you believe she has a huge future in front of her?
She's such a great student athlete. She's always looking for extra work. I mean, she's coming to optional practices like this past Saturday, going on a Saturday to go do some jumping practice with Coach Nickel. And it's really just watching her on the volleyball court as a true freshman. Coach Nickel, our jump coach, he's so excited about her. He was like, I can't believe she's only a freshman. The Coach Shafter says the same thing. And I was like, I know, you should wait until you see her play volleyball. So she's a great student athlete. She's always looking to get better. She's extremely coachable, and knows that she has a lot of potential, but there's a lot of untapped potential where she continues to see. I think, we're just at the tip of the iceberg here with Zoe Mayberry, and I would expect to be saying her name a lot over the next 4 years.
I'm wondering, as we're winding down here on the show as well, we're talking as we're moving into the spring sports season. And oh, by the way, Wyoming leads the CHL as far as the all sports trophy goes going into the spring sports season. So that's a pretty cool thing. You're in the driver's seat to go get as well. I'm also very impressed by the fact that throughout our time talking in this year, the fall, the winter, and now the spring, a lot of the same names are coming up. We're not seeing kids just necessarily focusing on one sport and saying, no, I'm not going to worry about that stuff. I think I've got a shot to maybe play collegiately in this sport. I'm just going to concentrate on that, and good luck to everybody else. We're talking about Brennan Pagan, what he did on the football field, and now he just threw a no-hitter yesterday on the mound. Zoe Mayberry, you talked about what she did in volleyball, and now what she's doing here in track and field. How are you and your administration and your coaches able to get so many kids to come out for so many disciplines each and every year on top of the production that they're giving you in all these disciplines? It's really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, they really like to compete with their teammates. They like to compete for their teammates, and represent our school in such a great way. And I mean, like a good example would be, Nathan Glisson. He's already signed to go play college football at Marion College, but he still wants to go and run, and he's still performing very well. And then you have youngsters like Joel Allen. He's only a sophomore. He's a great football player. He could certainly just focus on that, but he went out and he also was on the wrestling team. And then he's also now obviously excelling in shot put and discus. And it's just something where they love to compete together. They're always looking to get better and really represent our school. It's really special. Whatever's in the water here, hopefully they keep it up, because it's really a great place to be.
I'm assuming what's in the water right there. You're just not going to let the secrets out here on the podcast, and I don't blame you for that. It's really cool to see that as well. Lastly, before I let you go, one other note here, and this is a real good chance for you to earn some brownie points at home. You are less than 2 months into your marriage now. We were just talking before we started recording. You've got the honeymoon all set up to go over the summer. Thank you to Jan Wilking for allowing Jeff to have the little time off for that. But before we go here, let's earn some brownie points with the new bride. How's married life, pal?
I mean, it's been great. We've had a lot of fun celebrating. I think we continue the celebration, and we have since over the past 2 months. We're always talking to different people, and just hearing so many different celebrations, because we didn't get to all get together because of COVID for the wedding. So it's kind of been nice to continue that on, and just hear from a lot of great people, a lot of great support, and things are great. We're happy, so it's definitely great. Hi, Kayla. I'll go ahead and shout it out right there.
Good work. Good man. He already knows what the right things to say, folks, and certainly knows all the right things to say here when it comes to your student athletes and your coaches as well, because this is a really good start to the spring season, and really, for what I'm looking at, just really a launching point for what is potentially to come in this spring sports season.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jason. It was really great getting back here, man.
Yeah. Really good to get back into the swing of things and have a spring sports season to talk about there. Our thanks to Wyoming Assistant Athletic Director Jeff King for joining us for the spring sports season premiere of This Week in Wyoming Cowboys Athletics here on WyomingAthletics.org and ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.